too long. I've been here for too long. I've been here for too long. Okay, hi there, welcome. Just going to see if anyone jumps on. I know I've been contacted by a couple of people who would like to watch the recording, so I have started recording this for people to watch at a later date. So my name's Claire, I am from Alpha Fit Female, and I'm a mindset, nutrition and training coach, and I help women really dive deep into their triggers, their self-sabotaging behaviors and their mindset around how they feel about themselves, how they feel about eating, their belief systems around eating, and also their relationship with exercise, having a healthy body and being active and feeling at their best. Also help women in terms of their mindset and creating more of a positive mindset so they can really feel inspired and empowered to live their best life on a daily basis. And so they can learn to step up and take control and, take back control, I should say, of their lives. So as I said, my name's Claire of Alpha Fit Female. Work with women in a number of ways through my online coaching programs. And I also have an online tribe, a tribal community of women called the Naked Warrior. So you can come and check me out on any of those. But welcome to today's session. I'm just going to share my screen with you. So we are here with Skillsieve and just looking to help empower and inspire women a little bit more when it comes to taking back control of their eating habits and really starting to identify the triggers that are potentially getting in your way and holding you back from achieving the results that you want in terms of health and fitness goals, and also, confidence and how you feel about yourself. So the most important thing is, let's have a look at what, emotional eating is and those self-sabotaging behaviors. Are you getting in your own way? Don't know yet, do we? So we're going to have a chat about how to identify that. We're also going to have a look at what your personal triggers are, emotional eating, and your beliefs around food and eating. Because once we start to create awareness around what it is you're eating and why you're eating it, then we can start to identify patterns in terms of your feelings and your emotional state at that time, and then we can look to set yourself up with strategies that will give you success to change the habits that you've automatically got into if you are reacting to certain situations in a similar way and repeating that pattern over and over again. So our belief systems and how we feel about food starts at a very young age. If you think about your eating habits when you were growing up, are you still reliving some of those in your adult life? So for instance, the foods that we're exposed to when we're growing up tend to be, favorites of the family, things that maybe might be easy to cook for the family. If you think about your parents, it's their food choice preferences for them, but also ones that they know that you're going to be eating. I know in my household as I was growing up, sometimes it was quite bland and it was, repeated throughout the week. It would get to a Friday night as well. My poor mother, she was so tired from a big week that it would just be simple, easy fish and chip Friday, and other staples, spaghetti bolognese and potentially like a lasagna or like a cottage pie and vegetables. And my mum always used to cook at home, and we didn't often eat out, and we didn't really get takeaways. If we were going to have something on a Saturday night, it would be getting a homemade pizza base in and having fun together, making our own toppings and having our own pizza. And then that was the one night we were allowed to sit down and watch the Gladiators, I think it was, in front of the TV. But all of this repeated behavior, it starts to create the belief systems and habits that you form and your associations around food. So sometimes if you're being brought up in a certain culture, then you'll only be exposed to certain flavors and textures and foods within that culture. My diet, if you like, for want of a better word, when I was growing up, we didn't do spicy things. We didn't really do things such as curries or Thais or breaking out of your traditional basic bog standard meal. So it was only as I got older and started to explore food a little bit more myself that I became more exposed to these foods. If you think about when you're growing up too, you go to birthday parties and there's always cake, there's always like a celebration, and then the sweets and the chocolates and the cake comes out. Or it could be that your relaxation time is associated with your family from a young age. Potentially, Saturday night might have been a movie night in your household. So as you were growing up, you'll start to associate sitting down, relaxing with that emotional connection of feeling, potentially comfortable, satisfied, loved. You sat on the sofa eating popcorn and chocolate. And so as we get older in life, we keep those habits when we're looking to feel that emotional need, which we learn the attachment to at a young age. So the first thing in identifying what your behaviors are is to start to create that awareness around foods. And, think about foods potentially that you didn't like as a youngster. Are you eating them now? I know for myself, we used to eat runner beans. We used to grow them in the garden, and my mum used to make us eat them. And I used to have to mash them up in my mashed potato to eat them. And now I just won't even go near runner beans. So I have all these memories of having to eat these runner beans in mashed potato, and I don't like them. But at the end of the day, it's still a belief system and association I have with something from when I was younger. And I'm sure if I wanted to eat them now, it would be a different experience. So it's being aware of that and then learning, what you want to change and identifying what you want to change with those habits and those belief systems. And, it just takes consistency and time. And then if we have a think about, how we're feeling emotionally at the time that we are eating, a lot of people tend to eat in response to emotion or not eat. Sometimes when people are quite stressed, then they will either not eat because they're having these feelings of anxiety and it doesn't feel comfortable to eat, or they will then just eat a lot of the foods, potentially the wrong foods. And that's something I would talk about later, is the labeling of foods and your language around foods, because that can often lead to triggering binges and things like that. So if you do find that the best thing to do is just keep like a food diary or a connection to food diary. So it's just being aware of what you're eating and why you're eating it. So, and listening to what your body's craving. I know I've worked with a lot of women in the past, and potentially if they've had a long, busy day, like if they're a first-time mum or a new mum, or just a busy female, and we wear many hats as women. So once all the children have gone to bed, it's you put the kids to bed, and then you've tidied up the kitchen and you've tidied up the home and you've done your work and you've paid attention to your partner, and then you sit down on the sofa and you're like, oh, what about me? And then it's then where you start to feel, oh, I'm just going to reward myself with something for getting through the day. And it's then when we start to reach for the biscuits, the chocolate, maybe dessert, or too much of the foods that aren't going to be consistent with getting us where we want to be in terms of our health and fitness goals. Now, I believe that food is food, and all food that's just basically what it is, a fuel. Some foods you should eat more of, some foods you should eat less of. We all generally know what foods are good for us and what are bad for us. So it's about choosing to make better choices for our health. So try to avoid restricting food in terms of the language that you use. So rather than say, oh, I can't have this, or I can't eat chocolate, I'm on a diet, or I can't go out for dinner because I'm on a diet. Just say to yourself, I'm choosing to eat these foods because they're nourishing my body and they are healthier for my body. And I know that in the long term, it's going to be better for my health and get me closer to my goals. It's all about thinking of the delayed gratification rather than the instant gratification. And with women that I work with in the past, and I'm currently working with as well, what we like to do is, once we've created this awareness around your eating habits and what's triggering you, then we can start to work out strategies around how to overcome those. So let's have a look at one scenario. A lady, she's put her kids to bed. She's had a long day. She's been on her own at home all day. Husband's come home, partner's come home. The lady, she's cooked, she's run around after the kids, she's been to work, come back, finally got the kids to bed. And then she's come out the kids' bedroom and walked straight to the kitchen. Now, what we need to do is, we know that coming out of the kids' bedroom and going straight to the kitchen, reaching for the biscuit to have with a cup of tea, what we can start to do is, instead of coming out of the bedroom, like do another direction, maybe go to your bedroom and sit down and read a book for a little while. Maybe go to the bathroom, run yourself a bath, or go into your lounge without going to the kitchen. It's trying to break that automatic habit of thinking, going to the kitchen, opening up the cupboard and thinking, now what can I have? And it's starting to treat yourself differently. So you're rewarding yourself in a different way. And rather than rewarding yourself with what you would class as treats, think about what would be better for your body. Maybe if you are tired and you have been burning the candle at both ends and working really hard, what's going to be more effective for your body to help you rest and relax is going to be to go and have a bath and just relax, put some essential oils in there, and really start to unwind that way. And then if you get out of the bath and have a cup of tea, you might not even think about having the biscuits. So it's being mindful of what the triggers are. If it's tiredness, that's one way that you can overcome it. If you feel like you're unsatisfied and you're looking to find satisfaction in what you're eating, let's have a look at where you can create satisfaction in areas of your life. If you find that you're craving a lot of sweet foods, then potentially you don't feel like there's a lot of sweetness in your life, and that's where you're looking to replace it. If you feel that you're lonely or there's emptiness or low feelings of self-worth, sometimes we comfort eat to suppress those feelings. And if you find that you're feeling a certain way and then you're starting to comfort eat with these foods, yes, I appreciate it can be quite confronting, but the only way to overcome this habit of comfort eating and push through is to learn and start to identify where this emptiness is coming from, where the need for comfort is coming from. If potentially you are feeling lonely, why not phone up a girlfriend or a friend and just say, hey, this is what's going on for me, have a chat. If you're feeling like there's not enough spark or spice or sweetness in your life, think about how ways you can introduce that. And that could just be doing more of the stuff that you love. So getting connected to what excites you, what your passion is, what fires you up. If you think about the last time you were really excited about something, truly happy and really in the moment, enjoying what you were doing, you weren't thinking about what I'm going to eat. You were just totally in the moment and had no awareness of anything else that's going on. So the more you can get yourself into that state, into that feeling, the less likely you're going to be triggered by boredom or, that sense of being unsatisfied. The less chance you're going to be going over there and starting to comfort eat and looking to fill a void. So this awareness that we create around our eating habits and how we're feeling are very, very deeply linked. So once we have this awareness and then we've identified what we're eating and the triggers as to why, that's when we can start to set up our strategies for success and looking to put other tools in place so that we can overcome these habits. So this is where we start to identify whether or not we're getting in our own way or not. Is your goal weight loss? Is your goal to feel fitter? Is it to feel healthier? Whatever it is, once you identify, the habits that you've currently got that sometimes are often subconscious, we can start to create a better choice and being more conscious in our choices. So these then over time, consistently repeating them will become subconscious and easier to do. So like I said, if you know that your thing is to leave and go straight to the kitchen after the kids to bed, or if you get home from work and you go into the kitchen, it's all to do with the kitchen, isn't it? Create a different path that you need to walk through, or just choose to do something else. And over time, consistently doing this new thing, gradually the old habit gets pushed out. Another great way to avoid binging and self-sabotage in your results is remove the foods in your house that are not congruent with where you want to be. If it's not in the house, you can't eat it. And what I will often say to people that I work with as well is, if you get to the point and you're sat at home on the sofa and it's a Friday night, you're like, oh, I just fancy a little bit of something, and it's not in the house, that's your true test if you actually really do want it, because if you did, you'll get up and go and get it. And try and follow the 80-20 rule. So if 80% of the time you've got a good solid base for your foundation of eating, and that's on point, then it allows for the 20% to have what you want, to go out for dinner and to relax with your friends and family and enjoy a nice meal out and get that emotional connection of satisfaction and, you know, being satisfied with your family in that moment and eating food that you enjoy. Remember, food should be enjoyable. I don't, what's the word I want to, I don't like using the word diet, but I always try to encourage people to remove guilt from food. The only way you should have, or the only time you should have guilt around food is if you've gone out and stole it. You know, food is food. If you know that you're eating the right way 80% of the time, then you can enjoy the other foods. And it's starting to tune into your body and recognizing what makes you feel good. And it's once you start to push your body into a better place in terms of that foundation for a good nutrition, then you'll start to see that when you do eat the other foods, you know, the high sugar ones, heavy fat ones, you'll start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You'll notice the changes in your body. Once you start to have a better foundation with your nutrition, you'll start to see differences in your skin, in your energy, in the brightness of your eyes, in the clarity and focus that you have. You know, the brain fog is lifted and you'll wake up in the morning and it won't be such a drag to, you know, get yourself out of bed and get going in the morning. You won't be taking yourself to the coffee and slugging that all morning and then waiting 3 hours to have breakfast. Once you start to put yourself first and really get in tune with what your goals are and what you want, then it will be easier for you to overcome these self-sabotaging behaviors because we've identified them already. So now we've identified them and we know where we want to get to. It's like, okay, what will I do differently instead? So if normally you go out to work and you come back home, first thing you do is come in, sit down on the sofa and, you know, have a cup of tea or coffee or what have you and go, oh, I just need something I've got through the day. Have a think about what else you could do. Maybe you want to get home and journal a little bit and, you know, get your day out down on paper. Or it might be that you want to just get home, put your things down, get changed out of your work uniform and maybe just go for a little walk around the block just to reset yourself. Because if you think about it, we're just trying to cut from one state to the other. So it's how can we create that change in a different way without it having to solely be on food? Potentially, if for you find your danger times are in the evening, you know, we remove the food from the house so it's not there as temptation. But also have a think about what else could you do differently in the evening. Maybe you want to join some online learning platforms such as this. There's more education you want to do. Might be that you want to do a little home workout, or it might be that you're going to read a book or text a friend or just do something else. It's like, okay, so in those moments where I start to feel like this, or I know my habit is this, and I know that endpoint isn't really what I want to be, let me backtrack to here. So before I even feel like this, what will I do differently? I can do this, this, and this. And each of those thises are going to be individual to you and your lifestyle. And I'm quite happy to help you out if you've got any questions with anything to do with that. So, you know, do feel free to reach out at me. I will be putting my details on at the end of this little presentation for you anyway. So once we've had a look at all of those, we can really start to get out of our own way. So as I've said before, we're going to create this awareness around our eating habits. The next step that we need to do is start to think about mindful eating. So why are we eating what we're eating? And how are we eating it? Try to avoid rushing around, eating on the go, and you know, I'm sometimes guilty of it myself. You find yourself walking around in your house and you're eating, you haven't sat down and appreciated the food. What we want to do is start to maximize our nutrition intake so we can create a healthier body, but so we can feel better and think better. And once we start to feel better about ourselves, that will in turn also help to make us have those better choices around our eating. So really start to slow down. Put your body in its parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system. We've all heard of the fight and flight, which fires up the body with adrenaline so we can get moving and get going. But when you're eating, you want your body to be rested as much as possible so you can optimize your digestion. So we're not going to be getting any bloating, any reflux or anything like that, acid indigestion. And also, so we slow down and let our body naturally digest food. So we can do that by sitting down, taking a moment. Some people do have the practice of saying grace or giving gratitude for the meal. And then we can also just sit down, pause, take a moment, and then start to eat slower. Take more chews each time you bite, and actually physically put your knife and fork down in between each bite to allow the process to slow down. This will also help in terms of making sure that you don't overeat. When we're eating quickly, we shove everything in before our body even has a chance to recognize that we've even got food in our system. And if we eat slower, it gets better digested, it sends the right hormones around our body, so we can signal that, yes, we've got food, we're now not hungry anymore. And we're going to, in turn, make sure that we don't overeat. And we're going to actually enjoy the food and the situation and the environment that we're with, the people that we're with as well. Just one moment. The other thing I want you to think about when you're mindfully eating is appreciating what you've got on your plate, and look at your plate and actually see the color on it and see the foods on it. We start the process of digestion by literally, when we're cooking, when we smell the food, when we see the bright colors. Remember the last time you saw an amazing meal or smelt something, you're like, oh my God, that looks delicious. Like, you've already registered those signals that are going to start that process to get your body into that digestive system, parasympathetic nervous system. And so once we sit down, we can slow down, be mindful of what we're eating, being appreciative of what we're eating, and then we can be sure that we're not going to overeat. If you can aim to maybe potentially eat on a smaller plate as well, because our portion sizes are generally too big these days. So we aim to eat on a smaller plate, but we also aim to eat less, because we're taking longer to eat, and only try and eat to about 80% full, because then you're never going to feel stuffed, and then you're not going to have that sluggish feeling, and you're going to feed your body, fires it up, and then you're able to get on with what else you want to do, rather than having that horrible full sluggish feeling, and then you'll be going to what's called a food coma, and then you go to sleep afterwards. Now what's happened there is you've got far too much food in your system, so your body's literally directed all the nutrients, all the blood back to your digestive system, and made your body literally shut down so it can deal with this overload of food. So the less you do that, the better it is for your health as well. As I've spoken about before, we're going to start creating new habits to replace the old. So think about this. Once you've created that awareness around your eating habits, think about what you can do differently instead. What's going to work for you. And it might be that it's a slow integration. It doesn't need to be perfect every day. Don't put the pressure on yourself to have perfect every day. Think about what your ideal endpoint is, and then trust the process and just take one small step there every day. So, if you're finding that 5 days a week you're having this trigger and you're eating in a certain way, start to focus on something else and then reduce it down. So then that becomes maybe only just 2 nights, start off at 3, reduce it to 2, and soon enough you'll find that you're not responding in that way. What happens as well is when you have more awareness around what you're eating, you start to tune into what your body is asking for as well. And your body's very intuitive. It knows what you want. So if you do find that, over time, you do start to have those different cravings for things, then listen to it and observe them, because that's telling you, your body's telling you potentially then what you need. I know for myself, if I've been really busy, I've been doing a lot of exercise and running around a lot, and I've started to get tired, then I will not naturally start to crave more carbohydrate food, because that's my body's fuel. It's the energy that your body needs to move around. I know if I've been overdoing it, then if I start craving toast late at night, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my sign, rather than going to the kitchen to get myself to bed. Craving chocolate around your menstrual cycle is normal. It helps to balance out your magnesium levels. But rather than having a whole massive big block, go for good quality food and, have 1 or 2 small chunks of it instead. And if you're practicing that mindful eating and you're feeling the textures, tasting the flavors in your mouth, you're going to eat less, because you're taking your time to actually enjoy that process of eating. Another thing, excuse me, you can do is to journal and write down how you're feeling, especially if you do find that a lot of your triggers are from an emotional needs base. you know, write down how you're feeling. It will get that feeling out of your body and onto paper, so you're less likely to react to it so much. And then once you see things written down on you, generally what happens is they don't potentially feel as bad or seem as bad because they're not being continually processed around your head. But it also helps you start to identify a way to overcome whatever the issue is. Makes it a lot easier to deal with, and it doesn't feel so daunting and overwhelming. So journaling is great. It lets you know, it's a tool that you can use to express your feelings in just a private, personal way. You don't have to share it with anyone. And like I said, it's great to help you identify what you need at that moment. Other self-care practices you can start to introduce, as I said, you know, start to incorporate rewards differently. So instead of rewarding yourself for getting through the day, tell yourself at the start of the week, if I stay on track with my plan, you know, Monday to Friday this week, I'm going to reward myself with a nice massage, or I'm going to go get my hair done or my nails done. And you know, I appreciate while we're watching this, it could still be in lockdown, so all of these examples might not be applicable or we're able to do. So it's finding those other small things. Maybe give yourself your own little pedicure, or have that nice hot bath, or you know, just spend time nourishing yourself for what makes you happy. And it might be, you know, doing a little bit craft work, doing a little bit colouring in, drawing, or reading, or being creative. So fuel your passion so you'll feel satisfied that way, rather than looking for, you know, food satisfaction. And the meals that you do eat, just enjoy them, eat them guilt-free. Like I said before, food is just food, and food nourishes our body. And we can either be eating the right foods that are going to provide more optimum health, or we're going to be eating foods that are not going to be as good for our health. And consistently eating over those over time could potentially lead to our body not being at its best with chronic disease and things like that. So think about your body as your vehicle. You've only got this for the rest of your life. So start to increase your feelings of self-worth and value, and really recognizing what makes you happy, and creating boundaries so those things that make you unhappy don't come in and impact you as much, because then there won't be that reaction. Like I said before, a lot of people do emotionally react to situations externally to them, generally because their boundaries aren't set in place and aren't strong. So if you can make these stronger, you protect yourself from, you know, the negatives that would impact you. And from there, you know that you can be confident that you're doing the right thing for you and you're serving your needs. So then in turn, it's going to make you less likely to reach for food for comfort. So start incorporating those self-care practices. Like I said, you know, look after your body, look after your mind, and look after your health and your wellness as a whole. Try to avoid exposing yourself to, you know, things that make you feel down and sad. As I said earlier in the session, you know, we don't tend to eat when we're happy and excited. It's only when we're kind of feeling a bit low or bored that we start to comfort eat and look for something. So try to do more things so you're less likely to be bored, and avoid things that do potentially make you feel less valued and a bit sad. You know, if you've got that in place, then you can be confident you're going to be on track with your goals and working towards what you want to. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to join me during this session. As I said, my name is Claire. I am from Alpha Fit Female, and I do have an online tribe called the Naked Warrior. You can come search me on Facebook. I've just left the details up here for you. Or come find me on Instagram, Facebook again, as alphafitfemale.com. You can come to my website. I have a range of coaching programs on there that help women at a deeper level with their mindset, their nutrition, and their training. And, you know, please do feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help answer any queries that you have on this. But for now, I'm going to say over and out, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.